Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys have been enjoying some of the content on here as of late. Still doing the whole phone thing, just because I don't think we're going to be using my computer moving forward, so forgive me. We'll be using my phone moving forward. So if you hear some noises that are a little bit more prominent on the screen as of late, like that car that just flew by, forgive me. It's just the new format we're going to be doing moving forward. But of course, we have some new films that came out this weekend, and I would love to review both of them for you guys. The first one we're going to start off with being Luca, the latest from Pixar, and came out on Disney Plus, so it skipped theaters entirely, and it's for free, so you don't have to pay anything from Disney Plus. No premiere access, which is still boggles my mind. This whole I don't know how this whole thing works. I don't think Disney Plus even knows how this works. It's strange. I don't know their whole rationale with who gets what with Premier Access, or who gets. It's just weird. Premier Access, their whole system. But we're not here to talk about their system. We're here to talk about Luca, um, and it's the latest from Pixar. Their last film, which was Soul, and I really loved Soul. I really had a great time with Soul, and it was also free on Disney Plus, which was very strange. Again, like this weird trend with like Pixar Premier Access. Anyway, um, so Luca tells the story of, you guessed it, a boy named Luca. He experiences what a very crazy adventure with these two other kids, Alberto and Julia. And well, Luca and Alberto have a little secret, which is they are actually sea monsters. But they are also shapeshifters, so they can also disguise themselves as humans. And they're exploring the human world and seeing all the crazy things that they can see, and through that, it is a coming of age type story. Um, and um, I didn't really know what to think going in because the trailer wasn't that impressive for me. It felt kind of like okay. The animation seemed interesting. The look of the world looked kind of interesting. And the first thing I will say about the film, as any Pixar film is that I think that the animation looks was pretty good. First, I was kind of off-putted because of the new looks for certain characters, like new designs were kind of interesting to get adjusted to. But once I got adjusted into them, I felt pretty comfortable with them, and honestly was quite taken with some of the animation style. It looked kind of interesting and quite compelling, and in many ways charismatic. Um, and I can say the same thing for the characters. I found myself kind of not fully invested. We'll get into my issues later, but I found myself engaged enough with these characters. I found each of them to be likable. I didn't find any of them to be uninteresting. Found them all likable and charming in their own ways. Um, and I liked this idea of them being like misfits. I liked them, being the outsiders. And I'm always a sucker for those types of stories, those outsider type stories. So yeah, I liked that idea of it within this group, and I thought their chemistry together was pretty good. Um, and voice acting itself was also pretty good. I thought Jacob Tremblay, who I believe does the voice of Luca, did a pretty good job. Um, and I believe Mackenzie Grace was also in the cast. Let me just make sure real quick. No, it's not. It's Jack Dylan Grazer who does the voice of Alberto. Right? That's crazy. He did a good job. I guess Emma Berman, who's the voice of Julia, she did a pretty good job. I found her voice acting to be quite, I think, in my opinion, the best of the bunch. Um, and I found that the atmosphere was also quite charming and such. But ultimately, my issues with the film all come down to pacing, because the film is an hour and a half long, and it goes by pretty quick, and certain elements are just kind of introduced pretty quickly, and you're not really feeling like you have been on this adventure fully. You feel like you're kind of missing some elements, and you don't feel as engaged with the characters as you could have if the pace was a little bit slower, because the film just kind of just goes. And I wish it took its time a little bit to present other elements a little bit more, because at the end of the day, um, the movie just felt like it needed either an extra 20 minutes, or just it needed just a slower pace, because it just didn't feel as consistent. And um, And really, I think that and also the story I found to be a bit familiar, thematically speaking. It's not um, out of the blue. You know, Pixar, as we all know, has done so many movies where they talk about so many adult type themes packaged into childhood movies. Like Zootopia is clearly about like racism, discrimination. Coco is about death. Up is about like age and finding your youth through that. And like Toy Story about growing up, and it's just there's so many interesting thematic ideas that Pixar has explored throughout their movies. Soul, obviously, talking about uh, you know uh, the purpose of life. Like it's just these very fascinating ideas that Pixar always brings to their movies to represent through these kids films. Um, and I just feel like Luca is a lesser film. I don't think it possesses enough. Um, I don't think it possesses enough ideas as much as say Soul does or anything else. It is pretty much a coming of age type story, and the ideas that you would come to expect with a film like Luca are pretty much the ideas that you only get from Luca. Um, and maybe that's just me because we've watched a lot of Pixar films and I kind of come to expect a little bit more adult type themes from Luca. But Luca, in essence, is much more of a kids' film than a traditional Pixar film, if that makes any sense. But it still possesses a lot of the charm and a lot of the resonance that I would say a Pixar film does have. Particularly towards the end, I did cry at the ending. I thought it was handled fairly well in that very well in that particular moment. Um, and it did bring it home a little bit for me with the end, um, but it is a lesser entry, I will definitely say, because to put it all in perspective, as I pull up my Google Doc because I had written something about the film that I wanted to bring up. Um, Even though I did find that the pace creates a rather inconsistent experience because it just feels like characters get introduced and then all of a sudden we're on this adventure and then the movie kind of ends. Like it just feels like we're going too fast. I wanted things to go a little bit slower. And the story is, albeit familiar, as I said, it's a coming of age type story. You can kind of put together what the movie's probably about. Um, but there are compelling enough characters, and there is a charming atmosphere. And the score, I must say, was actually pretty good. There were times where I was investing into the music itself. Not really much with the story because this pace was kind of interfering in certain regards. But when it did find its moments, it was charming, and the score helped in many areas as well. But all those elements, the compelling enough characters, the atmosphere, and the score, I thought brought it home for me, even if it is admittedly one of Pixar's lesser entries. Um, because the best phrase for Luca is, it's fine. It's completely fine. It's not something that you're gonna walk away from thinking, wow, that's definitely a bad Pixar film. No, it's definitely not a bad Pixar film. It's not a bad film. Um, it's just that I expect more coming from Pixar, and this was just a lesser film. If you're expecting something like a Zootopia or a Coco or an Up or a Wall-E or a Ratatouille, basically anything that Pixar has done before, you're not really gonna be as uh, satisfied coming into Luca. But for what Luca is and for what they bring to us, as I said, there are some good characters in there. The atmosphere is fun. The animation is interesting to look at, and the score is quite investing in certain regards. And yes, the pacing does create huge issues throughout the film. I would say it's definitely the worst, the biggest issue that Luca possesses, and that the story is familiar. With all that, if you look at what Luca is offering with its positives and its negatives, in the end, what you get is completely fine. It is nothing disappointing, nothing terrible, nothing like it's definitely not. It's nothing bad, guys. It's really not. I just was hoping for more, thematically speaking, and Luca didn't bring that. But for what it is, it's totally fine, totally passable. But for Pixar, I do expect more.